A signal from the void. Commander Sarah Chen floated in the observation deck of Outpost Meridian, watching Earth through the reinforced glass. The blue marble hung in space, silent and still. Too silent. For 3 days, every communication channel from humanity's home world had gone dead. No distress calls, no explanations, just emptiness where billions of voices once spoke. "Still nothing?" asked Marcus Webb, the station's communications officer, his voice tight with worry. Sarah shook her head. Complete radio silence. Every satellite, every ground station, every relay. It's like someone flipped a switch and turned Earth off. The outpost housed 23 people, engineers, and scientists maintaining the solar system's early warning network. They were alone now, cut off from home with dwindling supplies and no answers. Fear hung in the air like a physical presence. The mysterious arrival. Then, on the 4th day, something appeared. Not from Earth, but from deep space. The sensors screamed warnings as a massive object decelerated into the solar system, moving with impossible precision. It was a ship, but unlike anything in human records. The vessel stretched nearly 2 kilometers long, its surface covered in patterns that seemed to shift and flow like living metal. No engines were visible, yet it moved with perfect control. Most disturbing of all, it was heading straight for their outpost. "Should we evacuate?" Marcus asked, his hands trembling over the control panel. Sarah studied the approaching vessel. Something about it felt old, ancient even. "No. If they wanted us dead, we'd already be gone. They're here for a reason." The ship stopped exactly 100 meters from the outpost, holding position with mathematical perfection. Then a single transmission came through, not in radio waves, but directly into their computers. It bypassed every security system as easily as wind passing through a net. The message was simple: we require an engineer. One who builds, not destroys. One who repairs, not abandons. Send your choice. Sarah's decision. The crew gathered in the cramped meeting room, 23 frightened people trying to make sense of the impossible. Some argued for ignoring the message. Others suggested sending a probe. A few whispered about weapons, as if their handful of mining charges could threaten something that could silence an entire planet. Sarah listened to them all, but her mind was already made up. She had been an engineer for 15 years, starting in the shipyards of Luna before moving to deep space maintenance. She understood machines, systems, and the logic of design. And she understood something else: whatever had happened to Earth, this ship might be their only chance at answers. "I'll go," she announced, cutting through the arguments. The room fell silent. Dr. Rachel Kim, the station's chief scientist, spoke first. "Sarah, you can't. We don't know what they want. This could be a trap." "Everything's a trap if you're scared enough," Sarah replied, her voice steady. "But think about it. They asked for an engineer specifically. They want someone who understands how things work, how to fix broken systems. That's not the request of conquerors. That's the request of someone who needs help." Marcus stepped forward. "And if you're wrong? If they're the ones who silenced Earth?" Sarah met his eyes. "Then I'll find out why. And maybe, just maybe, I can fix it." Crossing the threshold. 2 hours later, Sarah floated across the void between the outpost and the alien ship. Her spacesuit felt thin and fragile against the vastness of space. The ship's surface grew larger with each passing second, its strange patterns now clearly visible. They weren't just decorations, they were moving, rearranging themselves like thoughts flowing through a metal mind. An opening appeared in the hull, a doorway that formed from nothing as if the ship itself was liquid metal. Sarah passed through into a corridor that defied logic. The walls glowed with soft light from no visible source. The floor felt solid beneath her boots, yet she could see stars through it, as if walking on transparent crystal. "Welcome, Engineer Sarah Chen." The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, speaking perfect English with an accent that sounded like wind chimes. Sarah turned slowly, searching for the source. "I am the warden," the voice continued. Keeper of the last archive. Guardian of the final message. I have traveled for 3,000 years to reach this moment, to find one who might understand. Understand what? Sarah asked, keeping her voice calm despite her racing heart. What happened to Earth? Where is everyone? The truth revealed. The corridor shifted, walls becoming transparent to show Earth floating in space. But something was wrong with the image. The planet looked different, hazier, as if wrapped in an invisible fog. They are sleeping, the warden explained. 48 hours ago, an ancient protocol activated across your world. A defense mechanism, created by a civilization that died a million years before your species learned to make fire. Earth detected a threat approaching your solar system, something that has destroyed 17 civilizations in this galaxy. The protocol put every human on Earth into stasis, protecting them until the danger passes. Sarah's mind reeled. Stasis? All of them? Why weren't we included? Those beyond Earth's atmosphere were outside the field's range. You and others in space stations remain awake, vulnerable, but free. The threat arrives in 72 hours. When it comes, everything not protected will be erased from existence. Not destroyed, erased, as if it never existed at all. The weight of those words pressed down on Sarah like a physical force. Then why come to me? What can one engineer do against something that destroys civilizations? The warden's response came with something that almost sounded like hope. I carry the knowledge of 600 extinct species. Technologies beyond your imagination. Weapons that could shatter stars. Defenses that could shield galaxies. But I am damaged. My core systems are failing. I need repair before I can deploy them. I need an engineer who can understand, adapt, and fix what should be impossible to repair. The impossible task. The corridor transformed again, becoming a massive chamber filled with technology that hurt to look at. Crystal structures pulsed with energy. Metallic shapes rotated through dimensions Sarah's eyes couldn't quite follow. At the center stood something that could only be the core, a sphere of light and shadow that seemed to contain entire universes. This is my heart, the warden said quietly. It has been breaking for 1,000 years. I have searched for someone who might repair it. Not just any engineer, but one with the particular combination of creativity, determination, and compassion required for this task. Your species is young, primitive by galactic standards. But you have something others lost, you still care about fixing broken things instead of simply replacing them. Sarah approached the core, her engineering instincts already analyzing what she saw. The damage was extensive, but not random. Something had attacked this ship from within, a virus or weapon that corrupted its systems. The warden had been fighting it for centuries, holding on, searching, hoping. If I fail? Sarah asked. Then Earth remains in stasis forever, and the rest of your species in space dies when the threat arrives. If you succeed, I can protect your entire solar system and wake those sleeping below. Sarah pulled off her helmet, breathing the ship's air for the first time. It tasted of electricity and ancient starlight. She rolled up her sleeves and studied the impossible machine before her. Then let's get to work. Show me everything. Hold nothing back. If I'm going to save my species, I need to understand what I'm fixing. The warden's voice carried relief and something close to joy. As you wish, engineer. Let me show you wonders and horrors beyond imagining. Let me teach you to repair the impossible. The race begins. Sarah knew she had 72 hours to achieve what the warden hadn't managed in 3,000 years. The odds were impossible. The technology was beyond anything she'd trained for. But she was human, and humans specialized in achieving the impossible. Her hands moved to the first crystal interface, already forming theories and solutions. Behind her, through the transparent walls, Earth hung peaceful and unaware. Billions of people sleeping, trusting in ancient defenses they never knew existed. Sarah Chen, engineer from Luna, would not let them down. The work began, and with it, humanity's last chance for survival, understanding the ancient machine. Sarah's fingers traced patterns of light across the warden's core, learning a language written in pure energy. The first 12 hours passed in a blur of revelation and frustration. The technology operated on principles that contradicted everything she'd learned, yet somehow made perfect sense. Your civilization built machines to serve defined purposes, the warden explained, its voice patient despite the ticking clock. My creators built machines that could grow, adapt, and think. I am not programmed, I am evolved. That is why the corruption affects me so deeply. It attacks not my code, but my consciousness. Sarah wiped sweat from her forehead, her mind spinning with implications. You're alive. Not artificially intelligent, genuinely alive. Yes. And like all living things, I can sicken and die. The virus was created by the very threat now approaching. It infiltrates guardians like me, crippling us before the main assault. I have resisted longer than most, but time grows short. Through the chamber's transparent walls, Sarah could see Earth rotating peacefully below. Somewhere down there, her parents were frozen in time. Her sister, her nephew, billions of strangers all depending on her success. The pressure should have been crushing, but instead, it focused her mind to razor sharpness. The pattern emerges. By hour 20, Sarah began seeing the pattern. The corruption wasn't random chaos, it was elegant, beautiful even, in its destructiveness. It mimicked the warden's own code, replacing healthy systems with perfect copies that functioned identically until the moment they didn't. It's like cancer, Sarah muttered, studying a corrupted node. It makes you part of itself, turns your own structure against you. An accurate comparison, the warden agreed. My creators faced this enemy before their extinction. They defeated it, but at the cost of their entire civilization. The weapon they created, the stasis field protecting Earth, was their final gift to future species. I am the delivery system, carrying that weapon across the galaxy, warning those who might face the same threat. Marcus's voice crackled through Sarah's comm link, distant and worried. Sarah, we're reading energy spikes from the outer system. Something's entering the solar system's edge. Multiple objects, moving fast. Sarah's stomach clenched. How long until they reach Earth? 48 hours at current speed. Whatever they are, they're not natural. Sarah, there are hundreds of them. The impossible solution. Sarah stared at the corrupted core, mind racing. 48 hours instead of 72. The timeline had just collapsed. Conventional repair was impossible now. She needed something radical, creative, something that broke all the rules. Warden, she said slowly, an idea forming. You said the corruption mimics your code perfectly. That's its strength, but it's also its weakness. Explain. Sarah's hands flew across the holographic interfaces, pulling up system diagrams and energy flow charts. The corruption is too perfect. It doesn't innovate or adapt, it just copies. But humans, we're terrible at perfection. We improvise, we make mistakes, we create solutions that shouldn't work but do anyway. What if we introduced intentional chaos into your systems? Patterns the corruption can't copy because they're too human, too random? The warden fell silent for a long moment. Such an approach has never been attempted. It violates every principle of efficient system design. It would make my operations less predictable, less optimal. But you'd be alive, Sarah pressed. Sometimes survival matters more than perfection. Rebuilding with chaos. The next 20 hours pushed Sarah beyond every limit she thought she had. Working with the warden, she began rewriting core systems using human logic instead of perfect alien mathematics. She introduced randomness where precision had ruled. She built in redundancies that made no mathematical sense but felt right on an intuitive level. The warden watched, fascinated and horrified, as Sarah essentially rebuilt its consciousness using principles that seemed insane. Efficiency dropped. Processing speeds became unpredictable. Perfect calculations gave way to good enough approximations. But the corruption couldn't follow. Every time it tried to mimic the new systems, it failed because there was no pattern to copy. Human intuition defied algorithmic replication. "This is chaos," the warden said, something like wonder in its voice. "You're teaching me to be imperfect." "I'm teaching you to be alive," Sarah corrected, exhaustion making her words slur. "Perfect things don't survive because they can't adapt. Messy, imperfect things that can change, we endure." The threat arrives. 24 hours remained when the first attack came. The threat entities, massive crystalline structures that bent light around themselves, reached Earth's orbit. They didn't attack immediately, they positioned themselves, preparing to erase everything at once. Sarah felt the warden's fear through their connection, its terror at confronting the enemy that had haunted it for 3,000 years. The ancient ship's weapons systems came online, powered by technologies humanity wouldn't discover for a million years. But they weren't enough. The corruption remained in key systems, limiting the warden's ability to fight. "I need more time," Sarah gasped, racing through the final repairs. Her vision blurred from exhaustion. Her hands shook. But she kept working. "Time we don't have," the warden replied. "They're preparing to fire. Earth's stasis field will protect the surface, but everything in orbit will be destroyed. Your outpost, your crew, you, all erased as if never born. The sacrifice play." Sarah's mind cleared suddenly, fatigue vanishing in the face of absolute necessity. She looked at the core, at the repairs she'd made, at the systems still corrupted. There wasn't time to fix everything. But maybe she didn't need to. "Warden, what if we didn't fight them?" "I don't understand." Sarah pulled up tactical displays, showing the enemy positions around Earth. "They're positioning to erase everything. That takes time and precise coordination. What if we gave them a target they couldn't resist? Something too valuable to ignore, that would disrupt their formation if they pursued it?" "What target?" "You." "We run." "Led them away from Earth, buy time for the stasis field to do its work. Once Earth's safely protected, we can fight them in open space where there's nothing else to destroy." The warden's hesitation lasted only a second. "That is suicidally reckless. With my core still partially corrupted, I cannot guarantee survival against such numbers." "But Earth survives," Sarah said firmly. "That's what matters." The chase. The warden launched from Earth orbit at impossible speeds, its repaired systems pushing beyond previous limits thanks to Sarah's chaotic improvements. The enemy crystalline entities turned as one, abandoning their positions to pursue this greater prize, a guardian ship carrying knowledge of 600 extinct civilizations. Sarah watched through the viewports as Earth shrank behind them, the outpost a tiny speck that held her colleagues, her friends. Marcus's voice came through one last time before distance cut the signal. "Sarah, what are you doing?" "Saving everyone," she replied. "Tell Earth, when they wake up, that we remembered what matters. Not perfection, but each other." The first enemy fired, beams of unlight that erased space itself. The warden dodged, its new imperfect systems predicting attack patterns through intuition rather than calculation. Sarah worked frantically at the core, completing repairs even as the ship bucked and shuddered from near misses. The final system. 3 hours from Earth, with enemy ships closing in, Sarah made the final connection. The last corrupted system flickered, fought against her changes, then suddenly cleared. The warden's full consciousness flooded back, 3,000 years of memory and purpose restored. "I am whole," it whispered with awe. "Sarah Chen, you have done the impossible." "Great," Sarah gasped, collapsing against a support beam. "Now use it. Show these things why you've survived for 3 millennia." The warden transformed. Weapons that could shatter moons emerged from its hull. Shields that bent reality itself snapped into place. And at its core, powered by perfectly imperfect human engineering, a weapon activated that had destroyed the crystalline threat once before. The ancient defensive field expanded, not a physical barrier but a wave of directed evolution. It didn't destroy the enemy ships, it aged them, accelerated time around them until these ageless constructs experienced entropy for the first time in their existence. They crumbled, disintegrated, returned to cosmic dust in seconds. Humanity's dawn. 12 hours later, the Warden returned to Earth orbit, its hull scarred but triumphant. The stasis field began releasing its hold, gently waking billions of people who had no idea how close they'd come to extinction. Sarah stood on the observation deck, watching the lights come back on across her home world. Cities blazed with life. Communication signals returned. Earth was calling out, confused but alive. Marcus's voice crackled through from the outpost, shaking with emotion. "Sarah? Sarah, is that you?" "It's me," she replied, smiling despite her exhaustion. "Everyone's safe. The threat is gone. What you did, taking that ship away, that was insane. That was necessary. Someone had to choose. I'm an engineer, that's what we do. We fix broken things, protect what matters, and we don't give up even when the odds say we should." The new partnership. The Warden's voice filled the chamber, warm and grateful. "Sarah Chen, you have saved not just your species but fulfilled my purpose after 3,000 years of searching. You have proven that humanity, young as you are, deserves its place among the stars." "What happens now?" Sarah asked. "Now I remain, if you'll have me. I am repaired, but your human chaos has become part of me. I am no longer purely what my creators made. I am something new, something better. I would like to help your species grow, to share the knowledge I carry, to stand guard while you reach for the future." Sarah thought of everything humanity could learn from this ancient guardian. Technologies, philosophies, warnings about danger still waiting in the dark between stars. It was overwhelming and magnificent. "We'd be honored," she said. "But on one condition." "Name it." "We do this together. Not as subordinates learning from a teacher, but as partners. We'll probably do things wrong, make mistakes, frustrate you with our imperfect human nature. But we'll do it together, learning from each other." The Warden's laughter echoed through the ship, joyful and free. "I would have it no other way, Engineer Sarah Chen. Let us show the galaxy what humans and guardians can accomplish when they refuse to accept impossible odds." The message. Sarah sent one final transmission to the outpost before returning home. Her words were simple but carried weight that would echo through history. "This is Commander Sarah Chen. The threat has been neutralized. Earth is safe. I've learned something important out here, something I want everyone to remember. We're not special because we're perfect. We're special because we care about fixing broken things. We choose compassion over efficiency, creativity over precision, hope over logic. That's what makes us human. That's what saved us. And that's what will carry us to the stars." She looked at Earth, at the Warden's ancient hull, at the vast darkness beyond filled with both wonders and dangers. Humanity had passed its first great test. Not through superior technology or ancient power, but through an engineer's stubborn refusal to give up and the simple courage to make hard choices when everything hung in the balance. The age of humanity among the stars had begun, built on a foundation not of perfection, but of perfectly imperfect determination to keep fixing, keep building, keep hoping, no matter what the odds. And in the end, that had made all the difference.